So I'd like to introduce Kara Barnes, Science and Programs Manager of the CRSB, and Jessica Evans, Director of Standards Development at NSF International. So I'll hand it over to you, Kara.
All right, welcome everyone. I hope you're all familiar with the CRSB and our Sustainable Beef Certification Framework. The key components of our framework are the outcome-based standards, the assurance protocols for the certification process, the chain of custody requirements to track cattle, beef, and claims through the certified operations, and the sustainability claims to communicate about the framework. These four components allow for credible sourcing of beef from certified sustainable farms, which allows credible science-based claims and logos to be used. The framework was launched in December of 2017, and at that time, the CRSB committed to undertaking a 5-year review of the entire program. The first step in that review process was to gather information on the possible gaps, challenges, and opportunities within the framework. 2 projects were undertaken in 2021 to solicit feedback about the framework. The first was a benchmarking activity to complete standard-to-standard analysis for both the CRSB's framework, production, and processing standards, as well as for program-to-program level analysis against the overall certified sustainable beef framework. The second project was to conduct stakeholder consultation with the goal of identifying the priority areas and determining the direction for the framework update. The benchmarking exercise provided 8 short-term and 4 long-term recommendations, and the stakeholder consultation process generated 8 multi-part recommendations that the CRSB considered as part of the framework review. The 20 recommendations were grouped into 3 focus areas: the standards and the processes, the chain of custody requirements, and communication tools, documentation, and public communications. The 3 groups of recommendations naturally aligned with our key components of the framework, and as such, we were able to organize in an obvious way the work plan for the framework review and update process. So to reiterate, the stakeholder engagement and benchmarking activities completed in 2021 provided recommendations informing the priority areas of focus for the review and suggestions for continuous improvement of the entire framework. The focus of this public consultation is the sustainable beef production and processing standards. And review and updates to the other components of the framework are all still in progress and are outside of the scope of this consultation. So the CRSB Framework Committee met monthly from January through September of this year to discuss recommendations, stakeholder input, regulations, and changing influences since the program was launched, and has put forward proposed changes to both the sustainable beef production and processing standards. With an original 41 indicators and 120 requirements between the 2 standards, this was not a small undertaking for the committee. Their proposed changes fall into 2 categories: editorial changes, which clarify the language or intent of the indicator or requirement with no impact on the certified operation. This includes things like numbering the indicators by principle for easier reference, updating the background and supporting text within the document, and revising and clarifying language with the indicators, within the indicators. The substantive changes are changes to the indicators and requirements of the standards that would and do require a change in practice by a certified operation. These are the proposed updates or additional requirements to indicators, such as in the processing standard, for example, splitting the air quality and greenhouse gas indicator into 2 separate distinct indicators. As a framework committee drafted the proposed updates, there were a few things that they kept in mind. The first being that all the indicators are built on the assumption that certified operations are complying with all applicable laws and regulations. They're not intended to verify legal compliance or to endorse any activity as meeting the legal requirements that may be in place or apply to an individual operation. The standards also used an outcome-based approach, meaning that the practices used to meet the individual indicators in the standard are what is measured, without prescribing the specific ways to achieve them. The outcome-based model allows for the diverse ways beef producers demonstrate sustainable practices based on their individual operation, region, climate, soil type, production style, and more. Privacy and confidentiality concerns continue to prevent the inclusion of a financial management indicator in the standard against which individual operations are assessed. But integrated planning and management is essential for sustainable operation to achieve certification. Therefore, the standard assumes that economic viability influences behavior, decision-making, and the potential for adoption of sustainable practices across each of the 5 principles of sustainability. So a CRSB certified operation is an operation that is economically viable and on a journey of continuous improvement. Based on the stakeholder feedback, the committee tried very hard to balance the desires to move the bar on sustainability by strengthening the requirements in the standards, with ensuring that achievement level certification was still accessible to a large variety and sizes of operations so that the growth of the program wasn't hampered. Finding the right balance between these 2 desires for each indicator was challenging at times. And finally, you may notice as you go through the documents, limited changes were made at this time to the animal health and welfare principle, because we are anticipating a review and update of the beef code of practice on which the principle and indicators are based in the near future. If that update doesn't happen as anticipated, we can revisit the principle in the interim and make changes as necessary. So we do welcome all your comments and feedbacks on the animal health and welfare indicators as well. So the proposed updates from the committee were compiled into 2 documents, one for each standard for the purpose of this consultation. The main documents are full, clean versions of each standard incorporating the proposed changes. We've also provided a summary of change reference document for each standard, which highlights the proposed changes to the various indicators using differing text colors and formatting. So when you go into the summary documents, you'll see strike through used for text we've suggested removing and red text for new language added to the indicators. These summary of changes documents are available in both English and French. All right. As we've launched the consultation webpage is now live on crsbcertified.ca under the About section, public consultation. There you will find 2 links, one for the processing standard and one for the production standard, to the NSF workspace where you can leave your comments. I'll turn it over now to Jessica Evans to walk you through how to use that workspace.
Great, thank you so much, Kira. Welcome everyone. So very excited to launch into this next phase of the review and consideration of the changes being brought forward. So the public commenting process is hosted on the NSF online workspace, and it is open to any and all interested parties and who are directly and materially affected by the criteria. The process will extend over 60 days. It will open today, and it will continue on through to December 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once over the next 60 days, we will be receiving several comments from all different parties. And once that process has completed, there will be a final summary of comments and all of the actions that are taken to address those comments. Comments will be publicly available and shared with all of those that are interested. In addition to that, each individual commenter will receive a personalized response to all of the items that they are bringing forward for consideration. Comments that are submitted will be attributed to the individual and organization that they are representing, and that is viewable on the site to support full openness and transparency. As just a reminder to please visit the links that Kira just provided and that we will be sharing as a follow-up to the webinar to review the documents and the summary of changes and provide your feedback. All right, so once you click on the links that are provided, this is the first landing page that you will be taken to. And as Kira mentioned, there are two separate landing pages for the production set of requirements and the processing set of requirements. And in both cases, will be the first page that you see. And I want to point out the description and the introduction is very important as you're looking to navigate this new system, just to make sure that we receive all of your comments that are submitted. So once you take a look at the description, next I would advise to take a look at the supplemental documentation. So we have put together a summary of changes, both in English and in French, that highlight all of the changes that are being brought forward. Once you've familiarized yourself with those documents, you're able to click on the PDFs and download them to your personal computers. Then I would click on this document right here, which will take you to where you submit comments. This is the next screen that you will be taken to. You'll see in the upper left-hand corner, the Add Comment button, but also here is where you can download the full document as a PDF by clicking on this link right here. And again, if you want to download that to your personal computer, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, it will open up in a web page format. When you click on the Add Comment button, you will be taken to this screen right here. Please make sure that you complete all required fields, and those are signified by the stars in each of the field titles. And this is very important because I want to make sure that one, your comment is submitted, and two, you limit the errors that you may get. So please pay close attention to the required fields. Name and contact information is very important, and then any additional details in regards to your comment, if you can include those as well. This is the additional detail, and it really is just the second part of the screen that you will view when you are entering your comments. And what is important here is that you want to include as many details as possible about any clarification items, any issues that you're bringing forward, so that we are able to address anything that is being presented. And the other key component when submitting your feedback is a proposed solution. We want to make sure that we are eliminating the risk of interpreting your comment incorrectly. We just want it to be as clear as possible. So including a suggested language or editing of text in your proposed solution will help us in navigating the resolution process as we're considering all of the comments that will be coming in from the many different stakeholders. If you have a significant amount of comments that you would like to submit for consideration, I would recommend that you utilize a spreadsheet or a Word document, and you can attach those files here. Just the understanding is that those comments will be reformatted and included onto the website to, again, support full openness and transparency, so that all stakeholders are able to see the comments that you're submitting. But we just want to make it as easy as possible if you do have a large number of comments. And then once everything is uploaded and you have submitted your feedback, there is a button here that will finalize your submission.
Thank you, Jessica. And just to reiterate, you'll have to fill out this form for each indicator that you have comments on, unless, as Jessica pointed out, you have a lot of comments, and then you can upload them all in a supporting file. Otherwise, as it says in the description, it's one indicator per form, and all your comments for that indicator.